In today's video, we're gonna start something where we show you some of the best transformations that we've seen. This is Dan Devine, and this is how he changed his physique over the course of 90 days during the Pro Physique 90-day transformation. We're gonna do a video like this every day this week, and what I wanna do is show you just exactly what's possible. You're gonna hear it exactly from Dan's mouth. We're gonna talk about things in this question and answer series with Dan about how he tracked his workouts. We're gonna talk about how he tracked his calories. We're gonna talk about how low his calories got, and you're probably gonna be a little bit concerned because they did get low, but he never crossed the threshold, which I often talk about on this channel. We're also gonna talk exactly about how he handled his steps. And when I tell you that direct correlation between his amazing transformation and his step tracking, and how many steps did he get over the course of 90 days, you're gonna be amazed. You're also going to be amazed at how many steps he got on his birthday. He did something a little bit unorthodox in the way that he approached dropping his calories. But one thing he did, and we're going to discuss this, is he had a very interesting approach with his diet. So I want you guys this week to enjoy hearing and seeing the real world transformations, because I, as a coach, show you myself on this channel all the time, but I'm showing you the philosophies and the things that we're doing in our transformation challenge twice a year for the 90-day challenges, the before and afters. We're going to highlight some of the best of them this week. This is Dan. He was one of our champions, and I want you guys to enjoy.
Yeah.
Give me a ballpark of what you had your calories or your macros or whatever method you used at the beginning.
Sure thing. So I was around 1,800 calories to start. But one thing for your listeners who haven't done the sort of macro counting is very different than constraining, right? So you can count pretty easily how much did I consume today. And if you only care about counting it, that's one thing. But if you're trying to fit into certain buckets of protein, carbs, and fats, and eating this thing is going to take you over one and be under another, it's there's a little bit more to it than just counting. So I had to go through that learning curve when I first started. You know, day one of the challenge, it's like, okay, I have a spreadsheet. So I didn't use any apps. I'm a spreadsheet guy. I had all my I like having everything all in one place. So my workout schedule is in a spreadsheet in this whole, huge workbook where I'm tracking everything, tracking my sleep, I had projections about, I know that weight loss is not linear, but I had a linear sort of projection after week 1, I should be here, week 2, I should be here. And I was always tracking according to that and kind of seeing what I needed to make some adjustments. But going back to your question about the macros, so I started out, targeting that 1 gram of protein per body weight. So I started out at 190. So I started a little lower than that 1 gram initially. And I was really super focused on the protein. I thought, protein.
Yeah.
And I was under allocating on carbs in the beginning. And my energy level just really took a nosedive within the first few days. And I needed to make some quick adjustments to say, it's not all about protein. It's about a balance. And I needed to take the protein down a little bit and up the carbs a little bit to make sure I had the energy. And then I make sure I was getting those throughout the day to have the energy, because I just was really a few days in a row, just really.
So you mentioned not being an athlete. What did you do in regards to like a cardio plan or a step plan and workouts for this?
Yeah. So from a cardio perspective, I work from home 3 days a week, and I have a treadmill desk. So I had that before the challenge started. So I had already sort of built up my stamina in terms of walking, and also, both walking on the treadmill as well as outside the house. I mentioned during COVID, I didn't want to walk at all, but walking has become one of my favorite sort of hobbies. I love listening to music and podcasts while walking. And that almost becomes like a therapy for me, just to be able to go out and take a walk, or go on the treadmill and take a walk. Yeah. But going back to the workout plan. So as I mentioned, back in October is when I, had this plan. I started working out 6 days a week. I have a home gym. So I kind of bought some additional equipment for the home gym, pretty simple stuff. But I started working out 6 days a week, and I was pushing myself to do basically 6 sets of every exercise. So it was probably about a 90-minute to 2-hour type of workout that I was doing 6 days a week. And I felt I needed to build muscle mass, and I needed to build up stamina for myself, because I knew when the challenge started, I wasn't going to be able to push myself that hard when I was in a calorie deficit.
Yeah.
And so when the challenge started, I cut all my sets in half. So I went from 6 sets per exercise to 3 sets per exercise. I wasn't sure that based on my research, watching your videos and some other research, I wasn't sure that I really could be gaining new muscle in the calorie deficit and also with the cardio plan that I had. So I didn't want to overexert myself by sticking to that 6 set and really drain myself. So I cut that in half to the 3 sets, but I kept it to 6 days.
How did your performance maintain? Because based on research, 3 sets should maintain muscle.
So I used a metric of my total volume per day. So I would, in my spreadsheet, I had my everything tracked. So I didn't start tracking, by the way, until October. And so one of the biggest impacts. So for folks who are out there who go to the gym and stuff, if you're not tracking your workouts, I think you're missing out on something. You're not as serious as you probably should be until you start tracking those workouts. And so you can progressively overload for the next time. And you don't have to second guess yourself. What did I do? You don't have to remember it. Have it right there in an app, in a spreadsheet, write it down, whatever it is. You need to be tracking your workouts so you know what you did last time, and you can do a little bit more, whether it's 1 rep, 5 pounds, whatever it is, you can do a little bit more the next time to kind of make that incremental progress.
When you started out the diet, how long until you had to start making adjustments?
I made adjustments within the first week because
you said you brought the carbs up a little bit.
Brought the carbs up, yeah. And then I think it was after about 2 weeks, I started doing a 50-calorie drop per week. So I made sure that I was aligning my total calories to my weight, because I didn't want to plateau. I didn't want to stay constant with my calories and then plateau. So I was always going down in calories as my weight went down and kind of keeping that in lockstep. And so the protein, fewer changes in the protein, but, took away fat, took away carbs. I was trying not to go too deeply on the calories to start, because once you go too low, there's nothing else you can cut. So I wanted to do it sort of slowly but surely, take that down so that my body was not getting used to anything, but I was constantly in that same sort of calorie deficit. But for me personally, my breakfast and my lunch were generally the same. Yeah. I start every day with a protein shake. I guess I would consider that sort of my first thing as a snack. I have a protein shake to start my day. I then I make overnight oats. So I have oatmeal, yogurt, and some type of berries as my breakfast. And I find that sustains me in terms of energy and satiation for the good part of the morning. I'll then have like an apple or a piece of fruit, late morning, early afternoon before my lunch. And my lunch was generally like a mixed green salad with whatever protein that we had, either left over from the prior dinner or whatever. Again, I always had either raw chicken or grilled chicken ready to go to throw into a salad. So that was kind of my main staple. And if I had to go to work, I would bring a salad with me. So I was always prepared for those days that I was in the office. Again, I was in the office 2 days a week. So I made sure I was prepared with things. We had good options there in the office too, like high protein yogurts and things like that as well, and fruit.
I want to talk about the transition since the challenge has ended. So it sounds like your calories did get pretty low, like towards the end there. You said what 1,400?
No, I was about 1,500. Yeah.
Oh, 1,500. Okay.
I tried not to go below the 10x of
okay. So you did that. And then what was your step count or your cardio towards the very end?
Well, towards the very end, I lightened up a little bit because in the last 2 weeks, because I was already, so one of my goals, if you remember, somebody had done the math to say, if you walk an average of 11,111 steps over the 90 days, that's going to give you a million steps. And so I set my goal to be 2 million steps, which would be 22,222. So my daily average was around 25. I actually exceeded that. My daily average was around 25,000 steps. Wow. I had some days where I was really, I really had a high step count. In fact, on my birthday, I turned 54 during the challenge. And on my birthday, this is going to sound kind of odd, but on my birthday, I want to do something special. And I walked 54,000 steps on my birthday. I created a plan.
Before you said it was going to be your age. I knew it.
I worked out a plan in my spreadsheet. I said, this is how many steps I need to go per hour. I don't want to be walking till midnight. So I kind of, planned it out. I planned out, shoe changes and things like that to make sure that I wasn't going to have any injuries and blisters and things like that. And so, yeah, that worked out very well. I did over 54,000 steps on my birthday. So yeah, my step count was really great. I ended up with 2.2 million steps over the span of the challenge. So I know that's a lot for your listeners.
No, that's
That was part of my plan, though. I knew I
not
knew I could.
something I've never thought of the total number of steps in a given period. We pay attention to the daily.
Sure. Yeah, the daily was around 25,000, just under 25,000. Toward the end there, I kind of trailed off a little bit, but most days it was over 20,000 steps.
You've had this focus obviously for you for 6 months.
Yeah.
So how are you transitioning that into this next phase for you?
That's a great question, and I think I probably am struggling with that a little bit. I've been very much looking forward to this interview, and so that's kind of kept my mind occupied to sort of focus on this and anticipate the questions and answers and such. And so I'm kind of reflecting on how I want to apply what I've learned from this in some way to continue to make my life better in some other facet of my life. So what I proved to myself is that with this planning and this focus, I really can accomplish anything I want to accomplish. And so it's a model and a framework that I can apply to something else. What that something else is, I haven't quite figured out yet. I'm still, thinking about that, but I do now certainly have the confidence that with that laser focus and planning, that I believe that I can do anything that I want.
Guys, hopefully you learned a little bit from Dan's transformation. And if you guys are kind of stuck and you're trying to figure out how to get some results like Dan's, maybe not as extreme as his. Dan was one dedicated mother. Click the link below, join the transformation challenge, the meal plans, the training plans, the private support group. It's open worldwide, cash prizes, a deadline, and we're going to motivate you. And you're going to be a part of an amazing community where we're doing live videos. All the coaches for Pro Physique are going to be in the private group answering your questions, okay? People are sharing recipes, they're sharing strategies, they're sharing their highs, they're sharing their lows, they're talking about their struggles with work, with kids, with significant others, with being sick. Whatever comes up, we're going to make sure that you reach your goals and that you're able to sustain it. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. I'll talk to you tomorrow.